Let's move into the top five, Logan. Who you got in that 5 spot?
This might be my hottest take, and I flirted with having this guy number 4.
You little flirt.
Mm-hmm. Matthew Stafford is number 5 for me, man. And I'll run down some statistical numbers first before I get into it. He's 5th in total passing yards, tied 5th in passing yards per attempt, tied 13th in total touchdowns, 21st in total turnovers. Something that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, Carson, was the absurd arm talent that Matthew Stafford has at this age. One of the greatest arm talents of all time, unequivocally. Mm-hmm. He can just make any throw. Feet planted, on the move or not, any arm angle, Stafford can do it all. But what I think has kind of got lost in the shuffle, and I'm surprised it hasn't been more of a story this year, is that we are seeing one of the all-time great quarterback resurgences this season for Matthew Stafford. Last season, he went 3-6. He had 10 TDs to 8 picks. And this is coming off of a season where he threw 41 touchdowns and led the Rams to a Super Bowl victory. I completely wrote him off. I said Stafford's done. He's cooked. I legitimately thought we were looking at a Drew Brees, Peyton Manning-esque kind of slow slip into retirement. You know, that Phillip Rivers kind of, you lose a little bit off your arm, and you just slip into being a guy with a good brain, but his arm's too limited. I was wrong. I thought his arm was absolutely cooked. And when you think about the all-time great quarterback bounce back, the resurgences in NFL history, Drew Brees, wondering if he can ever throw again off of his torn labrum, where the Dolphins literally say, the Dolphins team doctors in that offseason say, Drew Brees can't throw. His arm is shot. He's never going to throw again. And then he bounces back and plays another 10 years. Chad Pennington, the Jets let him walk after a 1-7 campaign. He had a shoulder injury years previous where he wins comeback player of the year. Has an ankle injury. They cut him. Then he goes to the division rival Dolphins, bounces back. Peyton Manning, after his neck injury, goes to the Broncos. Randall Cunningham retired, Carson. And then he came back and led the league in touchdowns with the Vikings in 98. Jim Plunkett after the Pats. Dan Marino post Achilles. Carson Palmer after the Raiders. All of these quarterbacks that had these resurgences, this is one of the greatest ones of all time. It is remarkable. Yeah. Matthew Stafford is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I was done. I had him in Russell Wilson territories of, I had banished him, man. He was gone. And he's doing this. The decision-making, the dissection of defenses, the scanning, the processing, the pinpoint accuracy, the way he protects the football, the fearlessness, the damn mobility and play extension, it's amazing. And when he's on, he is one of the few quarterbacks in the NFL that feels like he is in complete control of the game. Yeah. It feels like he is going to dictate and beat you. And that's how it felt against the Saints. Oh, my God. I mean, just cooking. And again, when we're talking about elevating a depleted roster, this is a Rams team that had 40 rookies in training camp. 16 rookies made the team. Again, they were 5-12 last season and 3-6 in games with Stafford. He's got great receiver talent, no doubt. I want to give a huge shout to Puka and Cooper because they were playing their asses off too. Puka played an outstanding game last night, making all kinds of tough catches. But this isn't a great O-line. This isn't a great running game. This isn't a great defense. And Matthew Stafford has put this team on his back and has put them in a position to make a playoff push. Like, all things considered, Carson, I think this is one of the greatest comeback stories by a quarterback in NFL history.
Yeah, I feel like Peyton probably has to be number one, having the greatest quarterback regular season ever after major neck surgery in his late 30s. But I have Stafford at number 5 as well. And just like you, I flirted with him up to number 4. What we have seen from him over these last 5 weeks is absurd. 278 yards per game, 14 touchdowns to 1 pick, 7.8 yards per attempt, and a passer rating over 114. And the Rams are 4-1 in that stretch and averaging over 32 points per game. And absolutely, what puts him in these conversations is that he is a top 3 arm talent in football. It's Mahomes, it's Josh Allen, and then it's Matt Stafford. For him to still be there at this stage in his career is unbelievable, but it unlocks so much for him. And also his creativity as a passer, man. It is the blend of those two skill sets that crazy arm talent with that audacity that makes him pretty clearly to me the best creator at the quarterback position who isn't also super mobile, right? Like, yeah, he moves solidly in the pocket, especially for his age, but he isn't one of those true dual threats. All the other guys, it's Lamar, it's Mahomes, it's Josh Allen. Stafford is the one dude whose arm is so insane and who has that gene, that risk-taking gene, to where he just creates these unbelievable advantages inside the pocket. I mean, against Washington, dude, he threw 2 no-look passes, both of which are practical, both of which are right on target. We see often these ridiculous sidearm deliveries, which are valuable, getting the ball out in traffic, right? He doesn't just do this stuff for fun. We see him throw ropes while flat-footed when he can't step up in the pocket. Like, every single week, there's 2 to 3 Stafford throws where I just laugh. I laugh at the absurdity of it. His ability also to fit balls into these tight windows, like, yeah, with this crazy velocity at times, but also with perfect arc. I mean, his accuracy is incredible. In this 5-week stretch, it's been absurd. He's been a perfect quarterback in these last 5 weeks. Like, he really has been. And I think there's a separation between him and any of these other dudes who we talked about. Lawrence, Stroud, he is clearly playing better than all of those guys. This is the same dude who was a top 5 quarterback in 2021, who gave you 4,900 yards and 40 touchdowns, and one of the better quarterback postseason runs that we have ever seen, carried that great offense. This is a top 5 healthy quarterback in the NFL. The only reason that I don't have him one spot higher is that over the course of this season, and just knowing Matt Stafford, he can still make a couple more mistakes than I would like, because he does take those risks. Now, in these 5 weeks, he hasn't even been doing that. But when I compare him to my number 4, that's a guy who has been more consistently, reliably great over this entire season. But I mean, the talent from Stafford, it's incredible. And the Rams are, without a doubt, one of the scariest wild card teams in football.
Oh, yeah.
In the NFC. We've been talking all year. Who is that second even good wild card team after the Dallas Cowboys? And, or it could be the Eagles. We'll see whoever wins that shit show at this point. But, I mean, the Rams are running laps around the Seahawks, the Vikings, the Packers, anybody else who is going to be in that spot. They're one of the most dynamic offenses in football right now, and that is largely due to Stafford playing as one of the absolute, maybe not tier 1 quarterbacks, but like tier 1B quarterbacks. He's firmly top 5 right now.